Back on CBS Sports HQ, taking a look at your NFC Playoff Picture following this high-profile Thursday night matchup. The Lions moved to 12-1. The Eagles and the 2 seed just waiting for a misstep, but might have to keep on waiting. The Lions stomping forward and creating distance. Meantime, look at that wild card picture. The NFC North taking up a whole bunch of space. At 10-2, the Vikings set to play Atlanta, with the Falcons trying to hold serve in the 4, and the Packers now 9-4, sitting 6th. Emory Hunt, Bryant, McFadden, back to converse. Mac, I asked Emory this pregame, and I'll ask you the same question right now. How important is it for this Detroit team to make sure it comes through Detroit inside, controlled environment, and not have to go other places?
Yeah, it's very, very important. Anytime you can have home field advantage throughout the playoffs, that's a big time plus. And outside of that, for Detroit, you know, you want home field advantage, guys. But most importantly, you want that first round bye because you want to have extra time to get as healthy as possible when you look at all the injuries they're dealing with on the defensive side. Because tonight, those injuries definitely showed up. When you talk about having new faces and new places for their defense, there were some holes. And these are the type of holes we have not seen throughout the year. But when you have so many moving pieces, no question there might be a drop-off in production and consistency. So for Detroit, having the #1 spot, it's not solely just about having everything come through Ford Field, but it's about having that first round bye so you can get extra rest for the players who need it in terms of being injured.
2 backers, their whole interior. Looked like a couple guys in the back end got dinged up tonight. A great point there by Mac. We just saw the schedule out in front of this team. Massive matchup coming up with the Bills, the Bears, the Niners, rounding things out with a very competitive Minnesota team that will be vying for wild card positioning as well. How do you like that route to a 1 seed?
I love it because we get to learn a lot about the home field advantage of the Detroit Lions because you get an AFC Titan in Buffalo, and you get a division foe that's going to be vying for the top of the division in Minnesota at home. And we can see how valuable that home field will be for the Detroit Lions. And to B-Mac's point, you get guys healthy if you're getting at home. And if you're an offensive-based football team that plays indoors, you want to make sure you're able to play indoors throughout the course of the postseason and into the Super Bowl, which happens to be indoors this year in New Orleans. So if you're Detroit, it's even more important for you to stay on fast turf, no terrain or whatnot, and then be able to play those games in Detroit. And we'll see how valuable the home field is for these guys coming up against the Lions. Against the Bills.
They'll have some head-to-head tape on their other 2 opponents in the 49ers and the Bears, who play one another on this Sunday. As for the Packers right now, Emory, they're going to be in the wild card picture. That we know. Where they're seated, likely 5 or 6, depending on how things shake out for Minnesota and for Green Bay. When you're looking for that agent of chaos, the team talented enough to shake up one of those division leaders in the 2nd round, let's say, is that type of team? Do they have the personnel, the coaching, the execution to be that sort of a team moving forward?
As a 6th seed, sure, because that means they'll probably get Seattle. But if they're at the 7th seed, that means it gets Philly. No. So it's either where they're going to be slotted, either 6 or 7. Because for me,
you want that 5.
You want the 5 because you get the pillow fight of the South Division. But at the end of the day, if you're Green Bay, they do have explosive pieces, but they just I think they're so inconsistent on who they are. They get too cute. We saw that in this ball game tonight. So it'll be a challenge versus a good team, a good defense that has an identity that I've been bringing up all night long. As we look here, I mean, Detroit, we saw what that looks like. The Eagles are a tough out. And you're right, the pillow fight at the 4 spot is ideally where
Don't let Baker get hot.
Exactly, right?
Let Baker get hot.
Because that's another challenge for them defensively.
I can tell you this much, guys, in terms of the division leaders, as we see it right now, I wouldn't want to face the Green Bay Packers. And the reason why is because they have arguably one of the more talented throwers of the football on their team in Jordan Love. And Emory, I agree with you in terms of finding and staying with your identity. But outside of that, this is a talented team. Think about this, right? They were missing their wide receiver 1 and Romeo Doubs, still put up 30-plus points. They were missing their top cover guy in Jair Alexander and still took the Detroit Lions down to the wire. If they can get healthy and stay patient, and outside of that, guys, if they can just get some of these bad penalties out of their system, this is a team like we saw last year. They can get into the playoffs and move some tables and flip some chairs. Make a lot of noise in the playoffs, similar to what they did last year, because they have a very, very talented quarterback in Jordan Love, and they now have a brutal bully at the running back position in Josh Jacobs. So when you look at the wild card teams as we see it right now, I think the Green Bay Packers would be the one team, if you're a division leader, no, we don't want them really coming to our place, because if they come, they have an opportunity to upset you at any given moment.
Well, last year we saw them get hot in December. And I felt like last year they had more of that identity. We saw them run the football with Aaron Jones. He was having a fantastic close of the month. And also they were utilizing their tight ends. They're banged up there.
Yeah.
So they got to get healthy. And so maybe they can still turn it around, because they do have some pieces, but they're going to have to rein in that consistency that B-Mac talked about from penalties and also injuries.
To the point of Jordan Love, it was a tale of two halves in this one. 37 yards passing in the first half, finished with 206, 12 of 20 on the night, but a third consecutive game without an interception, something that likely Packers fans are happy to see. As we take a look once again at the NFC playoff picture, the teams getting close to locked in, the seeding still up for grabs. Bryant, McFadden, Emory, Hunt, thank you as always. Oh, what a Sunday we got on tap. The 1 Eastern window jam-packed on CBS and streaming on Paramount+. Then you'll see the Seahawks and Cardinals to round things out at 4:05.